first of all, it was a nice discussion. Actually, not nice, very tragic. I'm from Afghanistan. Everybody know. I don't have anything to say. Everybody know that. Thousands of people, 14,000 people around of the airport, outside the airport. No food, no shelter. I know. Every single time I get like 20, 30 phone call, contact, everybody's crying, especially women, men. I know it's difficult for the United States too. Just as a woman, as a kind woman, that Afghan people really trust you. They love you so much, and they have expectation that the United States never leave them alone. But it happened. It happened. Just what's your message? Do you have any message, positive message? Because women under a lot of emotionally bad situation like that. Just I need your message to them.
First, let me say that watching these scenes is incredibly heartbreaking and tragic. And, I have been to Afghanistan a number of times, and I've met a lot of these women you're talking about. The president has been there a number of times, has met these incredibly brave and courageous women. And I will tell you that I'm sure that part of the conversation the president will have with his partners and will continue to have with the United Nations is how we can continue to provide assistance, continue to stand up for these women and their rights in Afghanistan. So I don't want them to feel they have been forgotten. They have not. And we will keep them in our hearts. And thank you for your question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Reporting for the Intermountain Christian News, I'm Dr. Anthony Harper here at the White House. So serious issues to deal with in light of what's going on in Afghanistan, especially with regard to the safe passage of American citizens getting to America or other countries safely. We have ongoing concerns about the Taliban, of course, and their treatment of women and children, their abuse, by the way, of women and children, and the Taliban preventing American citizens and other people from getting to the Kabul airport safely. So I need to know from the White House about what is really going on the ground as far as the Taliban. The question is, are they going to back down? And the concern about China's involvement with the Taliban. So many serious issues regarding, there are a lot of valuable resources in Afghanistan, that being rare earth elements, resources that China is interested. A lot of people concerned about the corruption in the Afghan army and how they easily gave up and ran, didn't respond to protecting Afghan citizens. So many questions, so many concerns, a lot to pray for the safety of our American citizens and others that need to get to America or other safe countries in this matter. So please pray for the people in Afghanistan that are being tortured by Taliban, that greatly impacted their freedoms, that are suffering so much. So thank you for your prayers for them. And here follow-up is the question I was able to ask the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, last week with Press Secretary Jennifer Psaki was participating in. That was a miracle of God, getting called on. So pray for more opportunities for me to be called on here at the White House, and for so crucial interviews that need to happen, especially with the upcoming interview request to be granted for my interview with the Israel Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. So serious concerns regarding pressure on Israel to cooperate in going along with the establishment of a Palestinian state. Many people in Israel, even some Muslims that I've met with in Jerusalem, oppose the Palestinian state. It would be a major national security issue for Israel, and there's a warning by the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 2. It talks about the God of Israel and his anger towards people, towards nations that divide up his land. So check out Joel chapter 3, verse 2 of that warning. And I see many evangelical Christians do see that the only solution is found in the King of Peace. And the King of Peace being Jesus of Nazareth, Yeshua in Hebrew. So pray for the peace of Jerusalem and this world, that people will connect to the King of Peace, who alone has the answer.
Days ahead. Yes.
Yeah, what is President Biden's response to the people of Afghanistan who are now in the hands of the Taliban terrorists and feel abandoned by the United States, or to those in Taiwan and elsewhere that are fearful that the U.S. will abandon them to the aggression of China? And follow-up to that is, what is President Biden's response to people in Israel and other countries who might also believe that the U.S. will abandon them to terrorists?
So to the first question, President Biden and all of us, as I said in my opening comments, are heartbroken by the human consequences that have unfolded and could continue to unfold in Afghanistan. We believe passionately in human rights and human dignity, and we want to work with the international community to advance that wherever we can. But President Biden was not prepared to have American men and women continue to fight and die in the civil war of another country in order to achieve that. We will use every other tool at our disposal to achieve that, and we will do so day after day, month after month in the period ahead on behalf of the people of Afghanistan. To your question about allies, we gave 20 years of American blood, treasure, sweat, and tears in Afghanistan. We gave them every capacity in terms of training and equipment to stand up and fight for themselves. And at some point, it was the time for the United States to say that the Afghan people had to stand up for themselves. We believe that our commitments to our allies and partners are sacrosanct and always have been. We believe our commitment to Taiwan and to Israel remains as strong as it's ever been. Keep in mind that with respect to Afghanistan, we said back in 2011 that we would be out in 2014. We stayed another 7 years, far and above and beyond the commitment that we made more than a decade ago. And the last thing that I would say is that President Biden is laser focused on accomplishing the core national security objectives of the United States. And when it comes to Afghanistan, that was getting bin Laden and degrading al-Qaeda. We accomplished that, and he believes it was time for our troops to come home. Yes.
We read news every day, news that's informative but rarely encouraging. The Intermountain Christian newspaper aims to change that. They present the news you need to know, from what's going on in your community to your world, with encouraging words, motivation, and the resources you need to make positive changes in your life. What is your local government doing that you need to know about? What's happening in your community you need to be a part of? Whether it's a story from your neighborhood, a national story, or an encouraging word, you'll find biblical issues of everyday life in the Intermountain Christian newspaper. Intermountain Christian News is produced and supported by the work and donations of individuals and churches. You'll find it at churches, Christian bookstores, by subscription, and online at imcnews.org. To find out more about supporting this local resource, go online at imcnews.org or call Intermountain Christian News in Boise, Idaho at 208-703-8688. The Intermountain Christian News, a voice sharing the truth on matters dear to people's hearts.